What is up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've been off for the last while over Christmas, but I have a good reason. I got married. And other than that, I haven't shaved for a little while, so I'm a bit scruffy, but let's get on with the video. So one of the most annoying things about Diablo 2 Resurrected is running out of stash space. You find all these interesting unique and set items and you've nowhere to put them and have to create mule characters, and it's just a huge hassle. But what if you could create more stash tabs? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Now this builds off one of my previous videos on custom menus, and that's linked up here. And funnily enough, I actually got a comment on that video asking would it be possible to add new stash tabs. And stupidly I said no, it wouldn't, it would be visual only, you cannot add new stash tabs this way. And it turns out I was completely wrong. So let's look at how to add new shared stash tabs to your stash in Diablo 2 Resurrected. And as always, the files that we're working on will be linked in my GitHub in the description, and all tools will also be linked in the description below. And I'd like to just remind people that if you aren't subscribed, please do think about subscribing. The vast majority of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, and just clicking that button helps me out a huge amount. So as always, we start out in a new folder, so we have our stash tabs mod and stash tabs.mbq. And again, if you don't know why we have these MPQ folders, check out the video up here. So we'll go over the folder structure quickly, but there isn't actually much in this mod. So we have our data, global, UI, layouts, bank expansion layout hd.json. So this is the layout file for our stash. And again, we just use cask view to extract this. So we have our bank expansion layout hd.json, or if you're not playing the expansion, bank original layout hd.json. So that's the only JSON file that we need to edit. And other than that, the only other thing we have to do is in our data hd global UI panel stash. So we want to change our stash tab images because we'll be shrinking the size of them. And to do this, we'll use sprite edit, which I've covered in some of my other videos. So we'll open up our bank expansion layout hd.json with Visual Studio Code, or you can use whatever text editor you're familiar with. And we'll come right down here to the bottom to this tab bar widget. So these are our stash tabs. Now we have one personal tab and 3 shared tabs. So if we look at it here, we have a file name here, which is the sprite that we use for the background of the tabs. We then have inactive, active, and disabled frames. And you can see there's 4 elements in each of these arrays, 1 for each of the tabs. We then have text strings for each of the tabs as well, and you can see personal and 3 shared. And finally, we have a tab size. So each tab is 249 by 75. So what do we need to change here? Well, say we want to add 3 new tabs. So we're adding 3 shared tabs. Now I'm not actually sure what the max amount of tabs you can add is, but 3 works and I think 4 works as well, but there likely is some upper limit. But in this case, we're adding 3 new tabs. So all we have to do is edit the inactive, active, disabled frames and the text strings, and then the size of each of our tabs. So all we're going to do here is add in another 3 zeros there, 3 ones here, and 3 more zeros here. So each of these now has 7 entries in the array, and likewise we're going to do the same for our shared text strings. So there's 1, 2, 3, so that's 3 new tabs. And finally we want to adjust the tab size, so we have 4 tabs at 249, so that's 996 pixels. So we'll want to divide that by 7, which is 142 pixels. I think that's like 994 pixels, so we've a bit of change left over, but that doesn't matter. So 142 should be our new tab size, and we need to remember that for our new image. And while we're here, we'll also change the file name to point to that new stash image. So we have stash tabs small. And of course, future me chiming in here, also edit the tab count to 7. Past me forgot that, so I had to go back and re-record this part. And that's it for this file. So let's actually go and have a look at the images that we want to change now. So here we are in our Data HD Global UI panel stash directory, and we have this stash tab small.sprite which we created, and we just copied the existing stash tabs. And now we simply use sprite edit to open the existing stash tabs, and you can see it here. We have 2 frames, and we simply export those to a PNG so we can edit them and then duplicate this file. So if we open up our stash tabs.png, you can see these are the original stash tabs, and all we're going to do is essentially cut out part of them to make them 142 pixels wide. And now you might have noticed that sprite edit said there were 2 frames, so we have an inactive and an active frame here. And essentially that just means the entire image is twice the size of one tab, twice the width. So we just need to make sure each of these halves is 142 pixels wide. And that's exactly what we did with our new images. So I just used GIMP, which is a free Photoshop-like tool, to edit these images and just cut them down to 142 pixels each. And then we simply use sprite edit to import that PNG back into the sprite file and rename it stash tabs small, and that corresponds to our file name here in the bank expansion layout hd.json. So brilliant, is that everything now? Not quite. So this is the part where I got tripped up earlier after my custom menus video, because those new tabs that we added say they're not available when we scroll over them in the game, so you can't actually interact with them in any way. And this is where our saved games directory comes into play. So we go into C drive, users, your username, saved games, Diablo 2 Resurrected, mods, the name of your mod, and then you can see this shared stash softcore v2.d2i. And this is the file that controls your shared stash. Now I've already edited this, so we'll work on the backup for now. And what we're going to do is come to some online hex editor, or you can use an offline one or any other tools. We're going to open the file and select that shared stash file. And this is it loaded here. We can see that it's 204 bytes. Now remember, we had 3 shared stash tabs, so that's 204 bytes divided by 3, which ends up as 68 bytes per stash tab. And so you can see here we have a bunch of what most people would consider gibberish, but the important thing is we can see that this repeats. So we can see 55AA, 55AA, 00000000, etc. And that repeats here and here again. So that is 3 different repetitions of the same pattern. And if you look down here, it's 68 bytes that we currently have selected, which those 68 bytes are our shared stash tab. So we've added 3 new shared stash tabs. So what do we do here? We simply insert the selected bytes, those 68 bytes that we have selected that represent our stash tab. We just insert them another 3 times. And there we go. We've doubled our file size. So you can see the file size was 204 bytes. It's now 408 bytes. So that is the original 3 shared stash tabs. It's now 6 shared stash tabs and our 1 personal tab. And we simply save this file and paste it back into our save games directory. So that is this shared stash tab that's here. And now we're actually done. So all we did was edit the layout file to create new tabs, and then edit that shared stash file to actually add data behind those new tabs. So as always, we'll check this out in game. So we'll load it up, check the game settings. We have our mod-text here, and away we go. So here we are in game, and if we check our stash, you can see we have a personal and 6 more shared tabs. And if we actually go into each of them, you can see I have different items already in each of these shared stash tabs, just to show that they are actually different. So we've just added a huge amount of extra space to our character, but do they actually share across characters? Well, let's load up our validator and see. So here we go in game, you can see personal, there's nothing in there. And our shared tabs do have all the items that we added in on our other character. So there you have it, a really easy way to add additional stash space to your character. And this is so useful, it wouldn't surprise me if virtually every mod from now on is going to utilize this. There really is no downside to adding those additional shared stash tabs, and I'm actually surprised that Blizzard haven't implemented it themselves yet, because it is such a large complaint in the community, and people have multiple workarounds with mules, but switching between mules you have problems with game creation cooldowns, etc. So it would seem like a no-brainer just to add more stash tabs and to cut down on the need to actually have mules in the game. But that's all for me today. Thank you so much guys for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, please do remember to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment down below if you have any ideas for future videos. And I'll catch you guys next time.